My mom told me she was adopted when I was 7 or 8, and actually I just remember the way she said it so vividly. I was coming home from hockey when I was younger, and I found out that a girl on my team was adopted, and I was like, "Mom, like she's adopted," because adoption was so. When you were younger, it's just so weird because like you think about. I don't know. The way I was thinking about it was her parents were strangers to her, and like I know that they weren't, but in my 8-year-old head, I was like, they're imposters. So then my mom turned around to me in the car and was like, Emily, I'm adopted. And I I had like a little 8-year-old crisis. And I remember I came home and I saw my granddad, because my granddad lived with us at the time. And I just saw him in his chair in the front room. And I was like, who are you? And I remember just being like, you're not my granddad. In my head, like I wouldn't say it to him because that was me. But I was just like, you're not my granddad. What are you doing in my house? And I remember I was saying goodnight to my family and I said goodnight to everyone but him because I didn't want to, because I didn't know who he was. And I was just like, you're not my granddad. Who are you? And then the next day I didn't care about it anymore. And I was just like, nah, he's actually sound. But that's the first memory I have of ever knowing about adoption. So the reason behind our documentary is I wanted to share my mom's story, and I wanted people to know what she went through, because I've been told, I've known since I was 8 that my mom was adopted, and this is it's been a part of my life for what, nearly over 10 years. So I've always known about it, and I tell my friends and they'd be like, whoa, that's so interesting, like that's crazy that actually happened to her. I'm like, that's just her life.
My adoption story. Well, I was born in, where was I born again? I was born in London, in Paddington General on the 18th of February 1964 to an Irish woman. She was from County Mayo. And I spent about 11 weeks, there or thereabouts, give a few days, in a mother and baby home in the UK. And then I was trafficked back to Cork for adoption. My birth mother's name is Mary Josephine McNally, and she was from, as I said, County Mayo. My birth name was Bernadette McNally. And then I, of course, became Ursula Catherine O'Keefe, and then I became Ursula Catherine Shannon. My birth father's name was Patrick Walsh. And you know that your mom isn't your mom. And you have these moments in your life that you think, oh my God, where is my birth mother?
She is very open. She wants everyone to know her story. I feel weird speaking for her, but she will tell anyone her story, which is why she's a great subject for the documentary, because she is so open, and she's always been open. She's always known she was adopted. My granddad told her ever since she was little that she was adopted. He just had a fear of someone using it in a bad way against her. He didn't want anyone to be like, oh, you're adopted, and she like have a little crisis as a 7-year-old. So she always knew.
So I had 4 children. I had Robert, Connor, Katie, Emily. And when the girls, more so than the boys, started to have health complications, even though they weren't, they were just stuff going on. And with myself, you kind of have to go, I need medical information. I need to know what's going on, because you just need to know this stuff.
So you and Mary both had out of wedlock babies.
Yes.
How were your experience different?
Well, because it was 30 years hence, that's how our experiences were different. I didn't end up in a mother and baby home. Mm-hmm. And she did. I mean, like, I have my own moral compass. I know what's right and wrong. I know what's right and wrong for me. And I will be damned if any man with a little thing on his neck is going to tell me, you've sinned. Obviously you can't do it because of COVID and all this kind of stuff, right? But if you go to any parish register, right, and you go back to the 20s and 30s, the amount of unmarried mothers down there at that stage, there was an awful lot of kids born out of wedlock. But when Dev came into power, he wanted all the women barefoot dancing at the crossroads of Ireland. It's one of his speeches. And you have that out there. And then it was they took a higher moral ground again and said, oh, we can't have these, women who just want men and get pregnant.
What was your experience meeting Mary, your birth mother, for the first time?
Well, as I said, I can't say I actually met her. I've seen her. Because Mary was in the throes of her vascular dementia. And Mary couldn't really talk. She didn't have a whole load of words, or, you couldn't hold a conversation. So there was actually kind of no connection. But it was a very strange and surreal time.
Was it what you imagined?
No.
Not at all?
No. Because normally if you go and meet your birth mother, you actually talk to them, or they would talk back at you. And when somebody is after losing the power of conversation, that's sad. So I was late from that point of view. Do I regret it? Yes. And then you kind of go, should I have tried sooner? Probably. But you just have to deal with what life throws at you. You just have to, I can't wind back the clock. And it was amazing. But it was actually very sad as well, and what can you do? I know when Mary was starting in her dementia, she was found down in Clacton, walking the roads looking for the baby. Surprise, here I am.
So what are your thoughts on baby homes?
I don't think baby homes should have ever happened. I think the moral police, which was the church, it was the priests, shouldn't have interfered. It was actually none of their business. What people tend to forget is that we're all sexual beings. Quite recently, Micheál gave an apology about the mother and baby homes and the whole lot. First of all, it has no bearing on me. I was excluded. And not only me, thousands of adoptees were excluded from this commission. As a sensible person, I understand the narrowness of this commission. Because we would be here until 2050 waiting for this report to come out. Because I would have gone to Dublin and I would have spoke at the commission, and I'm sure there are an awful lot of British people like me who were born in England, trafficked over, would have spoke at this commission. And I know with St. Anne's Adoption Society there was over 1,200 of us. But you also have to remember too that there is an awful lot of adoptees out there who, first of all, will not tell their children that they are an adopted person. There is an awful lot of adoptees out there who don't want to find their birth parents, and stuff like that. But I think my story, I can't say my story and then again I want to say my story. I think I should have been heard. Does my mother deserve an apology? More than likely, yes, she does. And she doesn't have the mental capacity to understand what's being said to her. And there's an awful lot of women like that. There's an awful lot of women out there who are in their 70s and their 80s and their 90s and they still can't speak on what happened to them. Thankfully, there is more coming out. That some women can find their voice. And I'm glad about that. I'm not happy about the pain that they had to suffer or their feelings and their emotions about this. But I'm glad that there are more speaking out about it. And I'm telling my story now.
Has your mother's story impacted your life in any way?
No, I don't think my mom's story has actually affected me in any way. Because I've known it my whole life. Do you know? I think, what about you? Like, it hasn't affected us at all. No.
I suppose doing this documentary has affected your life because you're more aware of what goes on.
But
the situations of other people.
True.
Not just your man's.
I've always known, like, well, not always. I've known since I was 7 or 8 that she was adopted, and I know she found her family when I was 13. Well, she found her mom's side when I was 13 and met Sarah and Dave. So, like, it's always kind of been a part of me. So I've never kind of felt like, oh, like I get a new cousin every day and it's just like normal for us. So my mum comes in and she's like, oh my God, I found Jerry in America. Oh my God, look. So has it affect? I could see how it would affect people. But I think just the way my family is and the way my family works, it doesn't really affect us in any way because we're so open to it and it's not new anymore. Would you change it?
You can't change your life. You can't go around, what if I did that or what if this didn't happen. I know my life in London would have been far different than what I had here. And you just can't change it. Like, you can't change it. You also have to remember I had no say in it. I was only a baby. But when this triad of adoption came in, it was, we will take the baby from the mother and we will give it to some infertile couple. Because when women got married in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, they couldn't work anymore. You could work up until the day you get married, and then it was go home now and have a plethora of children. It just didn't work for some people. Some people couldn't conceive, so they went, oh, I'm married mother, we're going to take your child, thank you very much. Here you are. And go on now and be happy. And you know what the criteria for some of that was? Which is really annoying. Like that in the 40s, 50s, 60s and 70s, if you were a good Catholic and went to Mass. There was no background checks to see whether people were suitable, right? Because not every person deserves a child, but every child deserves a home.